broadcast for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This is the Firearms Radio Network. The bandwidth for this episode of Gun Guy Radio is sponsored by Patriot Patch Company. PatriotPatch.co.
Hello and welcome to Gun Guy Radio. This is the podcast that shines a positive light on the firearms lifestyle. I'm your host, Ryan Bachad, and this is your weekly dose of positive firearms talk without the politics. This week, I'm joined by Weerd to discuss the new products that were unveiled at SHOT Show 2016. So as always, please consider supporting the Firearms Radio Network by shopping Amazon using our Amazon affiliate link at firearmsradio.tv/Amazon. A portion of your purchase will go towards helping the FRN create awesome pro-gun content like this show. Also, please check out the Patriot Patch Company and their current patches available for pre-order. Visit patriotpatch.co. So, Weerd, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing awesome.
Good to have you on the show. So, SHOT Show 2016. I am really excited to chat about this because I know there are some guns you're like awesome, and then other ones we're both kind of like, meh.
Yep, that's a good way of pointing that out. Yep.
Do you shop on Amazon? How about your spouse? Does your mom? Does your company? Why not use the Firearms Radio Network's Amazon affiliate link next time you shop Amazon? Bookmark firearmsradio.tv/Amazon or click through the Amazon link in the right-hand corner of firearmsradio.tv. Get it? Got it? Amazon it.
All right, so we're into the main topic. Now, Weerd, before we get into the stuff we have listed here, what is some stuff that you saw, like, on the various, wherever you checked on media, on Facebook and stuff? What was one thing that caught your eye?
Well, the Kimber revolver, of course, was the big discussion.
Right.
But, I mean, honestly speaking, the thing that just catches my eye is actually, I don't have TV, I don't have cable, and so really TV for me is I just watch YouTube. I've got my YouTube, subscriptions. I've got a huge subscription list on my account, and so I just sit down and just pour myself a drink and just see what YouTube is. And when SHOT Show's around, it is just nothing but SHOT Show coverage, SHOT Show coverage, SHOT Show coverage.
I will say that one thing I noticed, Nathaniel F., friend of the show, was on the show floor, and he was sending me a bunch of pictures and stuff. And it was kind of funny, because last episode we talked about, or him and I talked about how I thought it was the year of the pistol caliber carbine, and he disagreed with me. And I saw an awful lot of pistol caliber carbines on the show floor, and most of them were like in the form of an AR.
Yeah, no, I definitely saw a lot of that, and also just saw a lot of, like, more of the same. Oh, this person's making an AR-15. That person's making an AR-15. Ooh, that person's upgrading their AR-15, their popular AR-15 line to AR-1510s. And so that's just nature of any of these trade shows, is there's always going to be a lot of more of the same and Me Too's.
I will say that this year, unlike last year, most of the stuff that I saw introduced was, like you said, ARs last year.
Yep.
This year, it seems like there were a lot of new entries in the handgun market, which was exciting for me, obviously.
Yeah, a lot of handguns. A lot of handguns and a lot of shotguns.
Yes. And the thing was, last year, there were new handgun introductions, but a lot of them were just kind of an evolution on an old theme. There wasn't really much that was, brand new, groundbreaking, something that I really could be like, oh man, I'm really excited to see that. And this year, I mean, we had stuff like the S&W 22, the Ruger American, the Walther PPS M2, the Bodyguard with no safety, which isn't crazy change, that new Kimber revolver, which they actually did a pretty good job keeping secret up until the time of the release.
They really did.
And the Avidity Arms PD-10, which is another cool thing that I've seen. I'd like to see more about that. But it really, really was the SHOT Show handgun year.
No, I agree.
So we'll start off here with the Walther PPS M2, and there's a reason we're starting off there first, because today I just recently got a chance to shoot one of these. So the old PPS, I believe I heard you say, Weerd, one time that you really liked the original PPS, but there was a reason you didn't have one?
So that's the big thing was, being that I live in Massachusetts, and I was looking to, my first my first carry gun lineup was I would carry a lightweight 1911 in a shoulder holster, or I would carry a Smith & Wesson 642 in a pocket holster. And so that's a 5-shot 38. And I kind of decided that if I could upgrade to a similar sized revolver, a similar sized semi-auto, I would really be much happier about it. And since Massachusetts, not every gun on the planet is available to us, but Walther tends to be, because they're sent through Smith & Wesson, and Smith & Wesson's here in Massachusetts. So Walther stuff, almost everything Walther makes is approved for Massachusetts sale. And so there was the PPS, and it's about the size of a J frame. It's lighter than a J frame. It's in 9mm. It holds more rounds than a 9mm. You know what? That sounds pretty awesome. So I had money in my pocket. I showed up at my gun shop, said, yeah, let me have a look at that PPS. And picked it up, and it felt all right in my hand. Didn't blow my mind. I loved the paddle magazine release, which we'll have to be talking about. But the first thing that happened was the guy at the shop pulled the slide back and locked the slide back and handed it to me. So the first thing I did was drop the magazine out and then lowered the slide, and then immediately put the magazine in backwards, because the magazine has a tab sticking out in the back of the magazine but not in the front. And so my finger just naturally feels for that tab on the magazine. On every other gun that I own, the tab's in the front. The floor plate overhangs at the front of the gun. In the original PPS, it overhung in the back of it. So I stuck it in backwards and jammed up the gun, and just went, that's going to be a deal breaker. And so from there, and it also happened to be a bit more expensive than I originally thought. And so I just said, you know what? Why don't you put that back? And so walked out without it. And I'm going to say, having seen all the stuff about the M2, I think it's at a little bit more of a competitive price point. And they have definitely fixed that magazine. The grip seems like it's a little bit nicer. Well, why don't you give me your impressions?
The grip follows the form factor of the larger pistols now. Mm-hmm. So the old PPS kind of had a very blocky, very utilitarian-looking grip. The new one looks a lot less top-heavy, because I always thought the original PPS looked really top-heavy.
Oh, it did. Not only did it look that way, that is how it is.
And the PPS M2 does not look as top-heavy. It's a lot more sculpted. The grip is really, really comfortable. And the gun is really thin. It's thinner than my car. The slide is even thinner. And the sights are good. They're not fantastic, but they're just, your typical three dot white dot sights. I believe they were actually made out of metal, too. They weren't plastic, which is another plus. The trigger, I have to say, was probably one of the best triggers I've felt on a small, single-stack 9mm pistol. Full stop.
Oh, very cool. How would you say it would compare to, say, like the PPQ, which they're pushing really heavy?
The very, very similar.
Oh, good.
Yeah, very similar to the PPQ. Much better than the stock trigger on a Shield, in my opinion. I really do think, it's like I told TJ earlier when I was talking about the gun. I sent him a picture, and I said, honestly, if Smith & Wesson had never gotten rid of the manual thumb safety, this gun could potentially be a shield killer for those people who do not like a manual safety. It really is that good. I mean, granted, we only put about 100 rounds through it today, which isn't a huge amount, but it didn't jam up at all. At no time did we have any malfunctions. The reset is really positive. The gun just feels fantastic in the hand. It's easy to control with both magazines. One magazine has, I believe, 7 rounds, and the other one has 6 rounds. One of them has an extended base plate. There is a video up at the Handgun Radio Facebook page showing all of this. I really, really like that gun, and it's a bit bigger than my car, but if this gun had been around when I was looking for the 9mm, I may have picked it.
Like I was telling you a little bit earlier, if this had been how they roll the PPS out, I would be carrying a PPS, not a car.
It is. I will say it is bigger. I tried putting it in the holster that I have for my car, and it wouldn't fit. Obviously, not designed for it. But
well, that's because you carry the car. You carry the car PM9. I carry a PM45, which is thicker but the same size as that PPS.
Yeah, it's a little bit longer. I believe that was the main difference. The barrel was longer. The slide was longer. So, yeah, I was really, really impressed with it. Go check out the video. There'll be a link in the show notes. So, very, very good pistol, and I think Walther's going to have a good seller on their hands.
My only complaint, but obviously I think Walther must be writing the walls, and, you know, there's a bunch of us out there that loved that German-style magazine release that's used on the Walthers and on the H&Ks and all that. That's a little paddle where instead of, you know, and I will note that a lot of the people that hate them, at least all the ones that I know, always seem to talk about trying to flick it with their with their strong side thumb, because, you know, that's how you hit the magazine release. If you're right-handed, you hit it with your strong side thumb. But with these, I always found that ejecting the magazine, all I would do is essentially point my finger out along the frame, like I was indexing my finger with my finger outside the trigger guard, and just swipe my finger straight down, and you're going to hit that paddle.
I would usually use my middle finger and just like hit it.
Yep, that would work too. I always found just, you know, the gun's empty, finger out of the trigger guard. You know, hit that magazine release, and then slam your fresh one in, then finger back in the trigger guard. I found it to be brilliant, but again,
maybe I was just influenced at a young age, because when the first semi-auto handgun I shot was a USP 40 caliber. So yeah, so I like the older style magazine release, but again, I mean, I carry nothing but semi-autos that use button releases. So, hey, guess what? A button release is not gonna sour a deal for me. Now, real quick here, the Glock 43 threaded barrel, I believe from ATI. This is kind of coming out, and this is just something really interesting. If you want to, you know, suppress your Glock 43, which would be kind of cool for the if you ever want to play James Bond or something like that out of the range.
Yeah, I mean, There's a certain cool factor to, like, if it's legal where you are to carry a gun with a suppressor on it, or I don't know what your reasonings for throwing it on there. But I also think it's a little bit silly, because the Glock 43 is a little tiny compact gun, and the moment you throw a can on it, it's no longer tiny and compact.
But wouldn't you think, well, you and I would love a Beretta 21 with a suppressor on it?
Like I've said, I am very, very glad suppressors are illegal here in Massachusetts, because if they weren't, my daughter would not be going to college, and I would be threading my revolvers. I would be putting a can on everything. All right? I would have a can on my bug assault.
So keeping with the gear idea here, the X Product SIG MPX drum magazine. Now, the MPX is still kind of having trouble making inroads into the market here. There's another entry on the list, and we kind of talk about it now, I'm sure, the MPX carbine, the 9mm carbine. So I believe they had some drama going on with the ATF, and they're like suppressor or something. I don't even know if that has anything to do with this gun.
Yeah, I mean, the issue they had was... So, I mean, they designed the gun as a submachine gun.
Yeah. So
they designed it so it's got a short barrel and a folding stock, or essentially a collapsible stock, and set up that. And so, I mean, the latest thing has always been all right, I've got a gun with a short barrel. I mean, obviously one solution is, you know, think back to your Uzi carbines. You know, Uzi carbines have got this big, long, goofy barrel hanging off the front of the gun. And that's how they made it so that it's, you know, not considered a short-barreled rifle. You've got the M forgeries, as people call them, of the AR-15 set up to look like an M4 carbine. And what they do is they pin the flash hider in place. That way the 11.5-inch barrel or whatever an M4 is. I'm not an AR guy. So, but the slightly shorter barrel than the legal 16 inches is now the legal 16 inches.
Oh, the 14.5, I think.
Is it 14.5? Okay,
yeah.
So that makes it even easier. Yeah. So you just pin the flash suppressor in place, and then is it Tactical Solutions? I think it is, makes the 1022 barrel that's got the big old muzzle device on the end of it that is designed to fit their suppressor. Is that you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, it's got a short barrel on it, but that it's got this massive muzzle, quote unquote, muzzle device that's essentially just kind of a heat shield for their suppressor. And so that means that you don't need to have, and the suppressor fits inside of it. So you don't need to have a gigantic gun because you need a 16-inch barrel, and then you're going to hang a 4 or 5-inch can off the end of it. But essentially what SIG did, that was a long way to get to. SIG just built this crazy muzzle device attached to the end of the barrel that was essentially the baffle stack of a suppressor.
Right.
And the idea is aftermarketly you could buy what would be the outer can.
The outer sleeve. Yeah,
the outer sleeve of the suppressor. So you just slide a metal sleeve over it, and ta-da, you get a suppressor. And they've been going through court case after court case for it, and I still don't think anyone's come up on a ruling on it because it's really tough to say that they're selling a suppressor because it doesn't make the gun any quieter.
Right.
But again, that's all over the place.
Well, and the funny thing is, I remember Nathaniel in the last episode, he said SIG designed the MPX to be the MP5 killer, and then once they designed it and released it, they realized, oh, the MP5's already dead. It was killed by the AR-15.
Yeah.
So I do think it's cool. I want one, but
still, they make the MCX, which is the honey badger killer, which I think would be the new MP5. But yeah, it's a really, I gotta say, I really, really want a 357 SIG pistol caliber carbine. Like 357 SIG and 10 millimeter are two pistol calibers that I think would really screech in a carbine.
Now, these Chip McCormick magazines, what's the story with these, Mr. 1911?
So it is it's just Chip McCormick has come up with an improvement on it. It looks like they've kind of rolled the metal down on the feed lips to make the feed lips stronger. And what's really interesting is actually the first 1911 I ever bought had a pair of Chip McCormick magazines with it. And I want to say within like 400 rounds. Don't quote me exactly on it because now this is like 10 years ago. But the feed lips started to spread on those magazines. And so essentially I would get a feed jam on the gun, and when I'd eject the round, there'd be 2 grooves scratched into the case from the feed lips digging into the round because it would come up above the feed lips slightly. And then I bought another pair, and those did the exact same thing. And then I switched over to Wilson 47Ds, and they work amazingly. And that's been the end of it. But again, the feed lips on a 1911 magazine are really the part that you're going to destroy first. And again, I've definitely taken Wilson 47D magazines and shot them at the range and had a couple of jams with them, and I just pitch them in the trash. That's the end of that gun, that magazine. They make dies. I actually had my gunsmith. He had some sort of weird die that he hammered into the front of him that supposedly was going to true the feed lips back up. It didn't work. But essentially, feed lips are the weakest link on, I would say, all magazines, but specifically on 1911 magazines. And once those feed lips start spreading apart, you've suddenly got, instead of a good functional magazine, you got a piece of junk. And so that added strength on those feed lips is really going to be a bonus.
Yeah, it'll be good to see where that goes. So with the long guns here, the Cry 612. Now, Weerd, when you first saw this, you really didn't really know anything about it, right?
Yeah, no. This is one of those things that I like. I definitely been looking more at the handguns than the long guns, and I'm not much of a shotgun guy. I mean, I've got a gazillion handguns, I've got a gazillion rifles, and I've got one shotgun. So yeah, it's not really my forte. So I really kind of have been avoiding this, so I hadn't really looked at it at all. And as soon as I started looking at it, I'm just like, what is this thing? It looks so much like the Pancor jackhammer.
They have a very futuristic looking suppressed version as well.
Well, of course, you got to have a suppressed version.
Kind of looks like a gun from like the movie Aliens.
It does look like the M41A pulse rifle. Yeah. But that was only in 10 millimeter, caseless.
I can't wait. I love the line at the end. I can't wait till the 612 can finally start, quote unquote, opening doors and meeting new people. Yeah, well, that's the so the gag on that is the link there. The first photo has got a really like a completely abbreviated one that's mounted to the rail underneath on a
it's a Bushmaster. Look at that. But it's mounted underneath the rail of a Bushmaster.
Bushmaster with a Daniel Defense upper.
Oh, well, good for them. But so it's set up like the Master Key, which was a super duper short and cut down Remington 870 that I think held like 2 in the tube and 1 in the chamber, I think it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this thing is kind of like that. And you're saying this is like it's acting like a double action revolver, so you're rotating.
Pull, rotates the cylinder and fires the round.
God, that's got to be.
And everybody says right here in the article, they said it's very, very smooth.
Man, I mean, it's just because it's a bullpup setup too, so that means that there's got to be like a just a big long trigger bar that runs all the way back. And so, man, I'm sure it can be done. I mean, I've heard there's definitely people that have made some bullpups with some pretty amazing triggers. And there's definitely some mods that you can do to some bullpups that have terrible triggers to make them good. But boy, it really seems like an uphill battle.
Right. I mean, I'm interested to see where it goes.
I'm interested. And also, does it say, I don't think it says anything here about whether it's gas sealing. I mean, I see those weird little cones
coming out the end of it.
Yeah, they look like little.
I don't know. I think maybe they really tried to just get that I can't believe I'm blanking on the term right now, but the barrel cylinder gap.
Yeah,
get that as small as possible.
Oh, though, would you want to do that with a shotgun shell?
Who knows? I don't know.
There's just so much unburned powder in my shotgun barrel whenever I clean it. So I don't know. I mean, hopefully it gas seals in some way, or has I guess there's no pictures of it from the other side. So who knows? Maybe one side of it's got just a big old blast shield on it.
So the next one here is one that Nathaniel was really excited about, and I'm kind of interested myself. The FB Radom MSBS. So this essentially looks like a cross between the Magpul Masada or the Bushmaster ACR and the Scar.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a really, really cool thing, and you know,
it looks
Radom, the makers of my P64, the pistol with the worst trigger, like the comically worst trigger. But no, this gun just does look really, really cool, and I really dig on, it's all well and good with somebody coming out with their own version of an AR-15. Good for you guys. I really do like it when someone comes up with a platform that fills the same role as an AR-15, but is not an AR-15.
I think all I know is Nathaniel texted me a lot about this rifle and how excited he was. And Nathaniel knows his rifles. I don't. So if he's excited about it, it's got to be something special, because he's very, very... He's very, very selective about what he likes.
It doesn't say whether or not it's the charging handle's reciprocating, but I know for a fact it's like a big old butterfly in the fact that it actually, instead of the new hotness has been the swappable charging handles like on the ACR and the Scar, is that you can pull the charging handle out and you can move it from the left side or the right side. So if you want to charge with your strong hand, like you do on like an AK style, or if you want to charge with your weak hand like you do on the vastly superior FAL, I get it. I had to. I couldn't resist. But instead, they just got it both hanging out there, so it's right there.
Well, it looks like you can use the receiver unit and make it into a bullpup.
Yeah, I don't know how that works, but there's definitely a bullpup right there, and
it looks like the receiver unit just in the stock as opposed to where it was before. And I do think Nathaniel mentioned that. I may be wrong, but it is called the MSBS modular rifle. I think this. Let's see. Yeah, there's a video. I don't want to play that and interrupt the show, but
yeah,
I'm really interested in that. I do think it really looks like that's what they did.
But I don't see where the magwell goes. It doesn't look like there's a seam. Like you can definitely see that lower receiver, but it doesn't look like there's a seam for the magwell to disappear, and there's certainly absolutely no magwell on that bullpup except behind.
The pistol grip just changes location. The magwell is in the exact same spot if you look at the receiver on the normal rifle.
But the safety and the mag release are in the same place too.
I think maybe the receiver goes into a bullpup chassis.
Yeah.
Some sort of trigger bar connection.
I really don't know, but it does look like a cool gun.
It looks awesome. I want
It would look even cooler if it was in 308.
You win 308.
I like 308.
So the HMG Sturmgewehr, now this is one that Ian and Carl have been talking up over at In Range TV, and this is one that I kind of had an idea was coming out beforehand. It was mentioned a couple times in passing, like on In Range, like, oh, I wish somebody would really make a reproduction. And Hill and Matt Gunworks, some people out of Georgia, I believe before this they were known for steel plates. I know Paul Carlson had gone down there quite a bit. And now their Sturmgewehr reproduction is, finally coming to fruition.
And it's a modernized reproduction, so it's not. They're not working to make essentially a gun that is 110%, an STG 44, but instead a slightly more modern interpretation of the original STG 44. And so they've also got it so that you can have it in 7.62 by 39 or 5.56 or 300 blackout, which is really cool. And done it so that the price is considerably more reasonable.
And you can have the tactical version and mount a bunch of optics.
Oh yeah, yes. So you can have one with a rail farm on it.
So really, really interesting. I'd like to see one of these in person. I'm very happy to see someone coming out with it. So the Kel-Tec pistol grip change bullpup. Now this isn't so much of a new gun as it is the pistol grip has kind of changed on the bullpup rifles from Kel-Tec. I'm not sure if this is like to be compliant with some state laws.
I mean. That's interesting, actually, because I can definitely see that's a permanently attached muzzle device. It looks like it's actually like milled straight out. The barrel's milled straight into I don't know if that's a flash hider or what that is. There's a little belling at the end of it. But, it's very interesting that it's got kind of a little, a little like a traditional pistol grip rifle stock, not like a old English pistol grip rifle, not a modern extended pistol grip.
Yeah, I really think this gun is kind of awesome. I kind of like the looks of it. I like how they sculpted it into the polymer, and it kind of looks like a traditional hunting rifle, but not really.
Yeah, it's really kind of threading that line. It's very interesting. I'd like to see how it feels.
Yeah, it looks like it would feel good.
I bet it would. And really, it kind of lowers the profile of it a lot more. So, I mean, if it feels good, like there's a lot to be said about that.
So we got this Ithaca. It basically looks like an Ithaca Auto and Burglar, the new Pedersoli firearms, and I think people really underestimate how good these companies like Uberti and Pieta, Pedersoli, and Taylor's do with these older guns.
Oh yeah. They do spectacular reproductions.
They have one here. What is the caliber on that? It's a 45 Colt Ithaca model. It kind of looks like the Ithaca Auto and Burglar 20 gauge, and it handles 410 shot shells as well. Not a practical piece by today's standards, they say, but it's a well-made firearm nonetheless. It really looks cool. The figuring in the wood is very nice. And then they have the smaller Sharps rifles, and then a little Betsy in 22 Magnum that looks like a Sharps.
Yeah, I love falling blocks. I like falling blocks and rolling blocks are both just so... I like the rolling block for its simplicity. I like the falling block for its elegance.
And if you like single actions, they have some really good-looking ones on here as well. So the 22 Smith & Wesson Victory pistols. Now, Weerd, what were your feelings on these guns when you first saw them?
Well, my first thought, actually, immediate thought was to the Smith & Wesson Model 10. Are you seeing where I'm going with this?
No, I'm not really seeing where you're going with this.
Right around, I'm not going to look it up. I'm just going to sound like an idiot, but it was right around like it might have been the First World War. They started marketing the Model 10 as
the Victory.
The military and police. It was after, I think, World War II for a little while. They started doing it as the Victory.
Okay.
So Smith & Wesson's revitalized the M&P as now a whole line of pistols. And it's interesting that Victory is now coming back out. So it's kind of that is, what was old is new again. Kind of like now there's, that cop pulling you over right now is driving a Dodge Charger 4-door because, they made a Dodge Charger 4-door.
And he's carrying an M&P. So this gun actually, when I first saw it, I was kind of like, yeah, okay, because Smith & Wesson basically discontinued all their 22 pistols, their standalone 22s, besides the 41. I believe last year or the year before that. That you still had the pistols that looked like the M&P made by Umarex, I think, that chambered 22 long rifle. But this pistol is their new standalone, but they even had the 22A that they discontinued. And this gun, I'm on the Guns, Holsters, and Gears website from Richard Johnson, and it is, from what I understand, a fantastic 22. Everybody I talked to said they really enjoyed it, had a great trigger pull, the takedown is very easy, the barrel can be changed extremely easily, and Volquartsen is coming out with their own replacement barrels that you can use that have various characteristics to fit your needs.
I mean, the lines of it definitely look like it's really trying to compete with the Ruger Mark III.
So I guess the new one, it comes with three flavors: standard, threaded barrel, and standard model with Cryptek. 5.5-inch bull barrel. The one that has a threaded barrel will allow for your addition of the suppressor. The heavy barrel and a 36-ounce weight. 36-ounce weight. You're not going to have any problems there.
No.
And fiber optic sights, they can ship with a Picatinny rail, so you can add a red dot like most of your new 22s. The grip panels are removable. There's a frame-mounted thumb safety on the left side of the pistol. Ships with two 10-round magazines. A single screw that's just forward of the trigger guard. You can remove that and allows the whole gun to come apart for cleaning.
Oh, very interesting.
So this is definitely a really, really cool installment. I did not expect this from Smith & Wesson. And Volquartsen is coming out with two barrel options for the new pistols. The first is a stainless steel barrel that's fluted and threaded. Comes with a thread protector and a blow-forward compensator that can be used to reduce recoil. The fluting is in the company's I pattern, and they reduce the overall weight of the gun while increasing the rigidity and improving heat dissipation. That's going for $295 retail.
And make the gun look like a Wildy.
Yes.
And that gun looks so cool with that threaded barrel with the flutes in it.
And then the second one is the carbon fiber lightweight barrel. It's also threaded, comes with a thread protector, uses a barrel tension technique to increase accuracy while drastically reducing the barrel weight, and the retail price for that is $215.
Yeah. Definitely really cool. Wish you could find 22.
I can find plenty of 22.
Yeah, I haven't looked recently. I've heard it's really started to come back, but the last few times I stuck my nose in the shop, there was like a few single boxes of this, a few single boxes of that. I just want to start laying in bulk packs again. Like it's when I buy like a 50-round box, that's just whetting my appetite without bedding it down again.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's just 22. It's weird because I can shoot 9mm for cheaper than I can find 22 right now.
Yeah, that's why I've been shooting a lot more 9mm.
So this next one here, I kind of made fun of Smith & Wesson, and I don't know. I'm glad they came out with the bodyguard without the thumb safety, but I wish they would have gone to the trouble of actually making it in the normal frame without just putting an insert in where the thumb safety went.
I mean, but this is kind of how Smith & Wesson does things. I mean, it's one of those with so let's say you buy an M&P right now. M&P was the ultimate like 1,000,001 options handgun. Is you can get yourself an you get yourself an M&P 9. You can get yourself an M&P 9 in what I would say is the correct way, which is just has nothing else to it. It's got no manual safety, no magazine disconnect, no internal lock, none of those things. Now, meanwhile, you can get it with an internal lock, a magazine disconnect, or a thumb safety. And all of those, all the holes and all the notches and all the grooves for all of those pieces of equipment, you can convert any gun in any status to any other status if you want. And that's really just kind of how Smith & Wesson does it. Like when I was getting rid of the magazine disconnect on my M&P 9C, the little filler cap that closes off the hole for the key lock kept falling out because it's just the key lock hole is there. There's just no lock in it.
Right.
So I really understand this as because I assume they're just leaving it in as an option. So if you still want a bodyguard with the thumb safety, you can still get it. It's not like it's only going to be coming out. If it was only going to be coming out with as a double action only, no thumb safety gun, then I could see them not shimming the hole and instead just coming up with a new casting for the polymer frame.
But didn't they do that with the shield with no thumb safety?
I think it's still an option.
It's still an option, but I think they made a new frame.
Yeah, they might have. Yeah.
So maybe the bodyguard just isn't as good a seller as the shield is, obviously.
I don't know. They're certainly cool little guns.
I would be willing to bet the shield is selling twice as much as the bodyguard is.
Probably.
So the Nighthawk Custom Browning High Power. This is not unexpected. I know Nighthawk's all about the 1911, but these high powers, they look pretty decent. Not as good as some of the stuff from Chuck Warner. I talked to him on my show, Handgun Radio, and we were talking about the stuff he was building. And I believe Nighthawk is now basically modifying current high powers. They're not building them up from bar stock or from just stock metals.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly good looking, but I'm sure the price tag is not going to be good looking because Nighthawk guns are expensive.
Yes, however, quite good looking. I do like the grips, the trigger. It looks like they do some treatment on the front strap as well.
It definitely looks like it's got some sort of texturizing. I can't tell what that is.
I gotta laugh at one of the comments here on the Firearm blog. 2.8K and no beveled magwell ? So yeah, just interesting to see. Interesting to see where they're going with their products. So the next one here is the Car Gen 2 P9 with improved trigger. Now, I believe they did these on the 45s as well, but at NRA show last year, me and TJ had talked with Justin Moon, and they were doing the the Gen 2 TP9?
Yes,
with the optic and the improved trigger.
They had a TP9 and a TP45.
Yes, and now I believe they've kind of moved that down to some of their concealed carry models.
Yeah, I think that's kind of their general idea is to now they're trying to because they. When cars started out, they were one of the first guys to the game on the little small pocketable pistols in major pistol calibers. I think they're one of the only. I mean, that Walther PPS, at least the older PPS, used to be in 40, but there aren't that many people that make pocket pistols in 40, and they had that, and you had to pay for them. They're really expensive guns. And so then all of a sudden everybody else started making small nines and they were losing market share to them. So they came out with the CW line. And so that line is designed to set up some cost savings in there so they can be more competitive with the other major manufacturers of pocket pistols. And so, but then the problem comes is so then what do we do with these guns that aren't being being made as inexpensive pocket pistols? Are people going to spend a ton of money on them? And I assume probably not. So therefore, they're now upgrading the standard models so that it's worth that little extra scratch.
I do think that trigger is going to really, really help those people whose main complaint was the long car trigger, because that new trigger with the safety flipper in the middle of it, kind of like a Glock, really, really a great improvement over the other one.
Yeah, no, definitely. It'll be cool to see. Where's the reset point on that? Did you ever test it for reset when you were at the NRA show?
I didn't. I may have. I really don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But it did feel quite nice. So the Avidity Arms PD10. Now there's really not a huge amount of information out about this gun in terms of like media day and stuff like that, because it's still, I believe, kind of a prototype. This was designed by firearms instructor Rob Pincus and a few other people that he knows. And this was basically, from what I understand, started on a napkin during a conversation. And this is the gun that Rob Pincus would want in basically the gun that he would want if he had the option to design a handgun. Now, when you look at it, what's your impressions?
It's a single stack, somewhat compact 9mm piece pistol. So it's definitely cool that it's larger in single stack.
Now, one thing I will say is that I know a lot of people were saying, "Oh, this is like a Glock 19 single stack," and it's using a Chip McCormick magazine, so I don't believe it's that small.
No, it's good. That's probably a, let's see, let's count the holes. 1, 2,
10
3.
round, it says.
It's a 10 round magazine, so that is definitely a full size 1911 mag.
Right, yeah, 10 round 9mm. I do think it's a very attractive pistol. It looks like it has the it kind of looks like a Lone Wolf ultimate adjustable trigger finished in aluminum that it has there. So when you look at the pictures on Guns, Holsters, and Gear, remember that this is like the pre-production prototype. And I believe they did get a producer and distributor at SHOT Show.
Well, that's good to know. We'll have to wait till we see it in production.
I'll be interested to see where that goes. And the last one, and I know Weird's probably going to beat me for this one, the Kimber K6S revolver. I really am interested to see where this gun goes and what Kimber does with it. This was designed by the people at Kimber and with some input from friend of the show, Grant Cunningham, as the ultimate concealed carry revolver. Now, this gun is basically, the way I described it to people who have asked about it, it, to me, is basically the modern-day detective special.
That's exactly how I see it.
It's a 6-shot, 357, weighs 23 ounces, MSRP of $8.99, which has had some people kind of going, oh my god, but you got to remember that is the MSRP, so it will probably retail around Smith & Wesson territory, like performance center gun type thing. And if they can pull off the manufacturing and keep everything consistent and do everything right, then I think this revolver really will be a success for them. It does kind of remind me of an SP-101 as well.
Yeah, but again, the SP-101 is 5 shots.
Well, that's true. And then you also had... is the SP-101 only 5 shots?
Only 5 shots.
So, I mean, this is the only 6-shot gun that's on the market chambered in 357.
That's compact size, unless you want to count the Chiappa Rhino.
That's true, but is the Rhino 23 ounces?
I don't know how much the Rhino weighs, but the Rhino's got some aluminum in it too, I think.
That's true, yeah. And the other thing is the sights on this. This has really good sights compared to most small snubbies.
Well, it almost looks like it's kind of got that frame-mounted rear sight, but it's dovetailed in there, so right. you can change it out, and you could probably adjust it for windage. But overall, it's one of those. That's the Colt Detective Special is kind of one of those guns that, like, I always scratch my head of why Colt doesn't make them anymore.
Right.
And so this definitely fills that like long gapped niche of pretty much like, these days you can, if you want to carry a revolver, and again, let's boil it down to this is if you want to carry a revolver, you could either carry a 5-shot compact gun or you can carry a 6-shot gun that maybe will have a snubbed barrel, but it's going to still have that big frame and grip to it.
I will say that it looks, from everything I heard, Nathaniel F. shot it. I put a video up on the Facebook page, and he said it had full house 357s in it, and it did not recoil that much.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know what the mechanics are behind it, but I mean, but again, I don't have a problem with this. I think it's a really, really great gun. I think it's a good design.
It's the execution.
I think it needs it. But my big issue, I love 1911s, but my big issue is I have seen so many people go out and buy a 1911 and see that name Kimber and go, oh, that's a mark of quality, and get themselves into guns where they need to just put so much more money into them to get them so that they work right, just because Kimber has had some problems with their quality control.
Right. I'm definitely interested to see where this goes. I really hope that Kimber can translate the production in the pre-production stuff into production smoothly. Like it has recessed chambers. That's something you don't see on modern revolvers.
Yeah, no, I absolutely, I'm not a naysayer. I'm not a hipster. I'm not a bomb thrower. I absolutely want to see this succeed, but I'm going to be patiently optimistic.
Excellent. I think that's a pretty good overview of the stuff that was released at SHOT Show 2016. So we'll head into the wrap-up section and close out the show.
stinking badges. Ha ha ha. Oh, you meant patches. Yeah, I'd love me some high-quality patches. Where? Patriot Patch Company, you say? Vámonos to patriotpatch.co. Whoa! You say they have t-shirts too? Vámonos to patriotpatch.co.
So Weerd, where can people find you?
You can find me on the Squirrel Report and the Gun Blog Variety Cast, as well as my blog at weirdworld.com.
And there'll be links to that in the show notes. So Weerd, thanks for coming on.
All right. It's always been fun.
Gun Guy Radio says thank you and proudly displays artwork and graphics designed by Ryan Cross of Hunter of Design. hunterofdesign.com.
So that about wraps up this episode of Gun Guy Radio. Remember to subscribe to us on iTunes so that you never miss a show. And please leave us a review there as well, gunguyradio.com/iTunes. Please consider joining the NRA and the Second Amendment Foundation. There are links there in the show notes. And don't forget to check out the other shows on the Firearms Radio Network. Also, be sure to check out the Patriot Patch Company, started by FRN's own Jake Challand and Ryan Cross. Patriot Patch Company offers high-quality 3D PVC vinyl patches with Velcro backing that is sure to satisfy any taste. Be sure to check them out at www.patriotpatch.co. This is Ryan Bachad, and I'll see you next week.
This has been a production of the Firearms Radio Network. You can find more information at firearmsradio.tv. Hey, since you're already listening to a show on the Firearms Radio Network, then you should check out the God and Guns podcast. Troy and Doug talk about guns from a Christian perspective and, of course, God. GodandGunsPodcast.com/iTunes. Subscribe now.